Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. We'll be talking about Neves, Nkunku, NDICKA, 3 N's plus Oseman, Rashford, lots more, ins and outs, shake it all about, right? Declan Rice, loads to get into. I absolutely love having Paul Ince on the show. Do check out the video from this morning, but because we don't really delve into the transfer news, it leaves a backlog of information for us to get through. So you lucky people, you're going to get lots and lots of information that's floating around today in relation to Manchester United. Ivan Ndicka. If you know who he is and you know what he's all about, well done you. I mean, I really will put my hands up and say this is a new one on me. Eintracht Frankfurt centre-back, left-footed though. Apparently United are scouting him from Build. Some reports from Napoli that we're looking at Oseman. And we're going to start off with Ruben Neves as the story for Manchester United. Someone do a super chat and ask Mark why Delo is English, says Ricardo. Welcome to the members club, Faturati. That is really appreciated. Thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate that. I'm just going to. Some people are now saying what's the situation with Ndicka at Manchester United. Well, you'll see that in a very... Well, you can see it on the screen now. There's a tweet coming up with that whilst I talk about... Ruben Neves is who we're going to start with, but there's your little thing off our Twitter in relation to Ndicka. So, in relation to Ruben Neves, let's start off with him. Reports again this morning that Manchester United are chasing a deal for Ruben Neves. Now, it's interesting with Ruben Neves because I think a lot of people would really like to take him. Sort of around his mid-20s now. He's been playing in the Premier League for a long time and certainly in a team that's always in the top half of the table, takes on responsibility in the Premier League for Wolverhampton Wanderers, and he's a decent player. Barcelona is apparently his preferred destination, but Manchester United have always had him on their radar. And again this morning there's talks of Manchester United hijacking the deal to Barcelona or muscling their way in. I mean, we don't need to muscle our way in that much. Any news on the Martinez deal? Sky Sports posted something recently. I've not heard anything on Martinez, Chris, at all. I mean, maybe we can talk about that in a little bit, but I don't think Man United need to muscle their deal and muscle their way into a deal for Ruben Neves, because ultimately he is a player that Manchester United have scouted for quite a while. He was on the list last summer, and Jorge Mendes is the agent of Cristiano Ronaldo. So United could definitely get involved in this if they wanted to. I just feel that Cam, the next head-to-head will be out tomorrow. I've already done Nkunku. Check it out in the members club. You remember, Cam, you should know that. But I think in relation to Ruben Neves, I think United can get involved in that deal because Jorge Mendes is somebody that we know. Welcome to the members club, Josh. I think it's going to be a deal that escalates in June. Ruben Neves is what I was told, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Do I want Ruben Neves? Do you want Manchester? Do you want Manchester United to sign Ruben Neves? Ben's girlfriend's told him to turn you off. She's now turned off. Okay, Ben. Okay, I normally can turn anyway. But no, I think that with regard to Ruben Neves, we'll see what happens in June with him. I certainly think he's going to leave Wolves this summer. I wouldn't discount an Arsenal moving in for him. I think he's a decent player as well. Thomas says Neves is too expensive. Don't want him if it means paying more than 50 million. And this is where I've got to be honest. In relation to Thomas, I would agree with Thomas there. I think with regard to Ruben Neves, congratulations on United Stand getting verified. Everyone's very just quick fire chucking stuff at me here, Jordan, but thank you very much. United Stand Twitter account did get verified today. Check it out at United Stand MUFC. In fact, they've got a tweet on the screen at the moment. They did. But I do agree with the previous super chat there from the person who said that Matt Judge is leaving, says JJ. I'm just going to take a deep breath. Slow sports news. Let me get some hot topic news out. So, in relation to Ruben Neves, I agree with that comment. I wouldn't go over 50 million quid for him. I think that in relation to Ruben Neves, he is a decent player, but I wouldn't want to spend any more than 50 million quid on him if I'm absolutely honest. I think that he is a player that Manchester United shouldn't be spending more than 50 million quid on, and I think if he was 40 million quid, I probably would. I would probably look at it, but not in his current capacity at Manchester United. I'm not massively interested in that deal. And I've got to be honest as well, I'm probably going to be controversial here. Davan, welcome to the members club. I personally don't rate Ruben Neves that much. I think he's a decent midfielder, and he's definitely better than Fred, and he's definitely better than McTominay, and I personally think he's better than Matic even on his best day, because I think Matic has been declining for a few years. But I don't... Ruben Neves, for me, I did a video on the Members Club where we were looking at Tchouaméni, and we brought in Neves and Phillips' stats and everything. And Neves is one of those players that just hits the brief quite a lot, but he's also a player that hits a lot of long balls. And that's not necessarily a stick to beat him with, but physically, could he be the player that we need? I'm just not so sure about Ruben Neves. I think he's a very, very popular choice with a lot of our fans, and I don't really have a massive problem with that. But I personally just wouldn't go there. For me, I think that he is a player that I would probably leave for now. But up to everybody else. That's their prerogative. It's not for me to say who United should and shouldn't sign, and I certainly won't have the capacity to say that. I'm not recruitment manager. I'm not in charge of what happens at Manchester United. So we'll see what happens with that. But Neves is certainly going to be a player that Manchester United are looking at. I would be with EMK. I actually would prefer Basuma, if I'm being absolutely honest. But it's not going to be up to me. It's not going to be up to you. It's going to be up to Manchester United on what they decide to do. So we will see what happens with that. So look, I think that with regards to Manchester United, where they go next is going to be very interesting. I think that we'll wait and see with the midfield situation. I certainly have to bring the latest for you in relation to Milinkovic Savage, and what I would say in relation to him is that Milinkovic Savage is a player that's just continually being linked to Manchester United. Gorav would take Neves at United. Bring it on, he says. Milinkovic Savage is a player that's been linked to Manchester United again. And I feel that I'm tired of this story. I'm tired of this story in relation to Ruben Neves, and I think everybody, not Ruben Neves, Milinkovic Savage. I'm tired of it, and I think that Italian reports are saying that Milinkovic Savage to Manchester United is a possibility again. I'm just tired. I'm tired of it. Milinkovic Savage, 60 million quid, 27 years of age. That's what it's going to take for Manchester United to get him, apparently. I'm not going to spend any more time on Milinkovic Savage. It's not a player that we're going to get. It's not a player that we're going to get at Manchester United. It's not a player that we're looking at Manchester United. And we need to move on from that, I think. I think we need to be moving away from that sort of a signing and looking at something a little bit different. Which brings me on to Nkunku, who I just want to talk about very, very quickly in relation to Nkunku. So Nkunku is a player that Manchester United have looked at for quite a while. Not a player that we're currently deep into negotiations for, but certainly a player that we are looking at. And I think that Manchester United, they can get Nkunku. And as it says on the screen there, what does it say? Told you yesterday, Nkunku to United, keep an eye on it. Exactly the sort of deal Rangnick can deliver to the club if the club wants to take it. And that is the update I gave this morning, and that is the update we have with Nkunku now. I think we would love to get Nkunku at Manchester United. As fans, I think it'd be a good signing, but I don't believe at this moment in time United have made their mind up. But it's definitely look, he's a fantastic player having a fantastic season with the right profile, looking to take the right step up. Absolutely categorically 100%. Rangnick's told the club to go for Nkunku. This is the sort of player that Rangnick thinks Manchester United should be bringing to the club. So it's got the Rangnick seal of approval. It's just whether it gets the HAG seal of approval and the Manchester United seal of approval. Why club not going for Basuma? Because of his court case, and I take Neves on heartbeat, leader, smart player and good passer, says Jay. Yeah, look, I'm not anti-Neves. I did say when we were talking about Calvin Phillips last week that I would be even-handed on signings. I cannot again say 80 million for Maguire is a great deal. We've got the best centre-back in the world, which is what I thought at the time, naively. So I think we've got to analyse every transfer and look at its strengths and its weaknesses. Neves, for me, I'd be very happy with, but he wouldn't be my first choice as a CDM. I'd rather try a few different things, as I said. And Nkunku, watch this space, though. Keep your eye on it. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a few of these fake in the nose going, we've put an offer in. You really want, bullshitters, basically. We're going to get a lot of bullshitters this summer. I can tell you categorically we haven't put an offer in for an Nkunku at the moment, but we are ready to move on it. If Ranić's certainly ready to move on it, if Man United give him the go-ahead to do it. And I certainly think we will have made our intentions clear to Leipzig and Nkunku. We're just waiting on whether that's the deal we're going to move for, and how quick we can move on it. I don't know. I think the $1 million question at the moment is how quick can Manchester United move on transfers? Is there going to be a period of Ten Hag wanting to assess the current squad before he moves forward? I don't think he has to on some deals. I think if you want a left back or a right back, it will take a little bit of time to assess the squad. But it doesn't matter who you're keeping or who you're selling. We need a centre back, a midfielder, and an attacker anyway. So an Nkunku deal is something that could move quite quickly. I suppose the big story we will go back to is the story that should come up on your screen now, which is Manchester United will send their scouts to have a closer look at Ivan NDICKA with a price tag of 20 million. This is really interesting because I think Manchester United are going to do some really interesting things in the transfer window this season. And I think that, in essence, Manchester United could well start doing deals that we're not really expecting. And if you don't know who Ivan NDICKA is, Ivan NDICKA is a Manchester United player, not currently. He's an Eintracht Frankfurt player at the moment. I think he's 22 or 23, 6'4". French, I think, is where he's played a lot of his football. And I think with regards to him, that Manchester United would be... Well, look, I'd find it very exciting. I would find it very exciting. I think NDICKA is not somebody I know a lot about, and I would profess that nobody in the chat knows a lot about him either. But Build are saying that we're looking at him, and I'm interested to see how it works out, because Build, German, Eintracht Frankfurt, German and Dutch sources seem to have a good grasp on what United are doing at the moment. Maybe it's the Ranić connection, maybe it's the Ten Hag connection. But this is the sort of signing that, whilst it excites me, it also scares me. I mean, I remember Eric Bailly coming out of nowhere, and it was exciting, and ultimately it didn't work. NDICKA, is this a player that Ten Hag would like to be buying for Ajax if he was staying at Ajax? Is this a player that Ranić knows from the German league and is a player ready to take the step up? I think these sort of signings always become across as quite exciting. Matthew Malloy, welcome to the Members Club. Afternoon, Mark. Should we not raid Chelsea with their situation? I'm not massively interested in Chelsea's situation, Mikel Roach. I don't think that's going to go anywhere, to be honest. We should look at Calvert-Lewin as a striker option, especially if Everton are relegated, can definitely do a job. I think he's shit, George. I think Calvert-Lewin would be a player I would sit here, right now, and say he is not a Manchester United player, and he will end up in the same category as many other players that we've bought recently, where we're pulling our hair out quite quickly at why we've spent a load of money on a player that basically is... I mean, look, Calvert-Lewin's in GQ magazine. Calvert-Lewin does a lot of work as a model. I mean, do you really think he's the profile of player that Manchester United need to bring to the club? And I've got nothing against Calvert-Lewin doing modelling work and this, that and the other, but we've got an identity crisis at Manchester United, and overhyped footballers who do a lot of stuff off the pitch ain't the profile of player of United need to be signing. And look, there's a lot of people who've seen that there's a new mural gone out for Marcus Rashford today on a wall in Manchester. Fantastic. If an artist wants to do something and express themselves creatively, it should always be applauded. Some people have reacted positively to it, some people have reacted negatively to it. I don't really care. If somebody wants to do another painting of Marcus Rashford for all the great work he's done off the pitch, that's absolutely fantastic. But you can't say haters are going to hate. You can't say class is permanent and, form is temporary and all this lot. He hasn't been good enough for 2 years. He's got to buy a few mirrors, look in those mirrors and realise he isn't at the level he needs to be. And I'm a fan of Rashford. I've always felt that we should probably give him a bit more time. But look, Man United need a certain profile of player, and we need people who are focused on their football week in, week out, playing well week in, week out. Do you think transfers will be done quicker in this transfer window? They've been long and drawn out in recent years, says Downey Jr. I don't know, mate. I've got absolutely no idea how quick Man United are going to be. Suffice to say that the transfer window starts in June. We probably need to do 10 to 20 deals. Somewhere between 10 and 20 deals will be done in and out. And therefore, you've got to hit the transfer window running. And there's certainly no reason to snooze when you know you need a midfielder, a centre-back and a striker before Ten Hag even assesses the squad. Mark, how did Liverpool manage to rebuild in 2015 after not winning the title for 25 years at the time? How did they attract players? No one mentions this, says John. You'll always attract players. Din Daly, welcome to the Members Club. You will always attract players to clubs like Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal. You will always attract players. And the great thing about football is you don't need to buy Haaland and Ronaldo and Neymar to win titles. Liverpool have got none of those players. Liverpool bought Mane from Southampton. They bought Van Dijk from Southampton. They got Robertson from Hull. They developed Trent Alexander from the youth. They brought Henderson from Sunderland, didn't they? Fabinho from Monaco. Salah from Roma. Firmino from the German league. And they built a team that won the league and the Champions League. So you don't need to... it's not a secret of success to be successful. It's a secret of good recruitment, and Rangnick has identified this. There's plenty of players out there that can make Manchester United title contenders without signing the Erling Haalands of this world, but we've got to recruit better. Do United Skypes only go to England games, says Ricardo? Yeah, well, that's something that's always been stated against Manchester United. But look, let's see what happens with Ivan NDICKA. I can't tell you much about him. If anybody in the chat does know anything about him, then that's absolutely fantastic. But obviously he's having a decent season with Eintracht Frankfurt. They're doing reasonably well in the German league. They're in the semi-finals of the Europa League, playing against West Ham on Thursday, so maybe take a look in there. But apparently, according to Bild, Manchester United are scouting him, so let's wait and see. It's a new name to add to the list as a centre-back, left-footed. Let's wait and see what happens with that. There was some story that people were talking about Jared Bowen and James Ward-Prowse. I mean, I would park that story. I don't think there's any truth in that at all. Hi Mark, this summer, who will be taking the role of Chris Chief Scout and Head of Negotiations? Now the useless ones have left, says Joe. I don't know, Joe, but we need to be working right here, right now, with regards to our signings, and I'm hopeful that Manchester United will currently be doing that. Just very quickly in relation to Jared Bowen, West Ham against Eintracht Frankfurt, Declan Rice, obviously a player that's been mentioned to us. Thank you for that, Reddy HD. And our main focus has to be Timber, Nunez and Rice, says Will Arnott. Well, there you go, Will. You've just took me nicely into my next part I was going to talk about. In relation to Declan Rice, Declan Rice is a player that Manchester United are not going to be able to get hold of, apparently. Apparently Manchester United can't get hold of Declan Rice because he's going to be staying for another year at West Ham. He will be the captain of the club and he will be staying at West Ham. So, you know, that'll be interesting to see if that actually happens. I don't know about that. Look, I personally think Declan Rice will leave West Ham this summer, and I think that Declan Rice will be a player that Manchester United take interest in, but I don't necessarily think Manchester United will be able to sign him this summer. But I do think he'll leave. I don't think he'll stay at Chelsea for another year. Alfred says, Mark, Ndidi is a left-sided centre-back worth 24 million. So, NDICKA is a left-sided centre-back worth 24 million. Well, just before I move on from NDICKA as well, let me just say that NDICKA is a player that Scott says he's way better than Maguire, in my opinion. Well, if you've watched him, that's absolutely fine. I don't know whether people have or they haven't. Bayern want Timber, says Akudas. And he plays in a 3-back, and then Nkunku doesn't play in the same system that Ten Hag plays, so both wouldn't work, in my opinion, says Jack Tilbury. Well, you know what, Jack? You know, I will give you some credit there and say that, you know, it's an interesting point. I don't think it's a right point, if I'm absolutely honest with you. I think that... But just going back to that previous comment about NDICKA, I do think it's important to highlight the fact that he has only got 1 year left on his contract, which I hadn't said. So he has got only 1 year left on his contract, so that puts him into an area that may be quite interesting. But as Jack says on the screen there, he bossed West Ham, NDICKA, but I don't think you should take any notice of that. I don't think, not Jack specifically. I think Jack makes a good point, but I don't think you should make any particular notice in relation to Nkunku or NDICKA in relation to their suitability to play under Erik Ten Hag, because Sebastian Haller is the prime example of that. That's not, you know, an out-and-out number 9 who's a bit of a hitman. Wasn't really what Ten Hag was doing with the previous Ajax side. So I think that Rudiger plays in a back 5 for Chelsea. He'll be playing in a back 4 probably next year. So yeah, I don't think I don't think you can pigeonhole players like Nkunku as well. Nkunku has the ability to play in 4 positions for me. Number 10, left side attack, right side attack, and almost a number 9 at times as well. Not in the traditional sense, but good players adapt with good managers, says Ricardo, and I think that's a great point as well. I think that you're absolutely right. Even though I haven't watched him, he's better than Maguire, says Rihan, in relation to NDICKA. So yeah, look, we'll see what happens with that, but I'm interested to see what Manchester United can do in the transfer window, and I'm very interested to see what we can do with regards to the players that we actually bring in. Which leads me on to another player I wanted to talk about was Victor Oseman of the Napoli team. So this is a story that Oseman's been linked to Manchester United, but he's also been linked to Arsenal. And I suppose it wanders us into the avenue of where Man United might go if we don't sign Ruben Neves, Darwin Núñez. Neves and we seem to be very interested in. You know what? I think normally Manchester United under Ed Woodward, he wakes up at the start of the transfer window, logs onto Football Manager, puts in the filters of overpriced English players and see what comes up. I think it feels like United this transfer window have just said, let's expand to the whole of Europe, not just the English league, but only players beginning with N. Because we've got Darwin Núñez, we've got Ruben Neves, we've got Nkunku, we've got NDICKA. There's quite a few, and there's probably more. And Diddy, maybe we'll go for him. Could Joe Gomez be a good buy for United? Well, it will never happen freely because he's a Liverpool player. But I think with Oseman, he doesn't begin with an N. But Oseman would be a very difficult deal for anybody to do. I mean, one of the big things I've learned, and I'm sure many of you've learned doing these shows for years, is that Napoli are never an easy club to deal with. We wanted Koulibaly for quite a considerable amount of time. And I think that Napoli, I'll always remember that with regards to Napoli, another word beginning with N, with regards to Napoli, I remember speaking to Fabrizio Romano, and he was saying that Napoli are no great shakes. They won't be taken for a ride. They won't not sell players cheaply. So I think that trying to get Victor Oseman, who's Nigerian, N again. I'm trying to think of players beginning with N now, who we've been looking at. We're all doing it, aren't we? Imagine if you could... Imagine, you know, they have the draft system in the NFL. Right, imagine this. Each year, each summer, you get a letter as a Premier League club, and you can only buy players whose surname begins with that letter. So Arsenal, you've produced B. Off you go. Man United, you've got N. Well, we've got loads of players we're looking at. Man City, we know you've got loads of money, but you can only buy players beginning with Z. Why can't we buy players from teams soon to be relegated from the Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A? There'll always be one promising player from each, says Rohit. Yeah, but also there might be a reason why they're getting relegated. But in relation to Victor Oseman and moving beyond Darwin Núñez, who seems to be the number one target in the press, around the club, in the fan base, everyone's saying Darwin Núñez is the man to go and get. And I don't disagree with that. Check out our latest video in the members section where we deep dive on Núñez. But if we don't get Núñez, where would you go? I remember talking a few months ago about this. We were talking about Schick, we were talking about Jonathan David, we were talking about Alexander Isak, and Oseman was mentioned as well. The issue with Oseman is he's done very, very well at Napoli, obviously formerly of Lille. But and I think I think Oseman on average is scoring a goal every 2 games, so it's not terrible. But the problem with Oseman is that he went to Napoli 2 years ago for a record transfer fee of €70 million. So if he's going to leave Napoli 2 years later, is he going to go for anything less than €70 million? And of course he's not. Of course he's not. That's just not going to happen. He's going to go for a lot more than that. So are you going to spend 80, 90 million euro on Oseman? And Manchester United I don't feel that we can do that. You know, maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I just don't think that we can do that. And I think Manchester United we'll have to be a little bit more creative with that. I mean, if Arsenal want to spend 80, 90 million pounds on euros on on Oseman, that's up to them, I suppose. But I just don't see that being a possibility for Manchester United this coming transfer window. But maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I am wrong. So I don't think Oseman will be a player that comes to Manchester United, in all honesty. Let's have a quick look what people are saying in the chat. Oseman is a target man. Well, I think Oseman's about 6'3", isn't he? Or is he 6'1"? I'd have Haller and Origi at Newcastle all day, says Barth. Okay. And why is nobody talking about Salisso? Bring back Lukaku, says Nikhil. And Christian Eriksen. Well, I think Christian Eriksen is a player that I wouldn't say we're nailed on going to get Christian Eriksen. But I do think he's a player that Man United should be considering. I think he's a tailor-made replacement for Wan-Bissaka in the squad, certainly. Hi, Mark. Do you think we should get anyone from the Scottish Premiership? I'm from Scotland, and I'm always eager to watch your shows when they come out. Keep up the good work, says John. I don't watch enough of the Scottish League, mate, but putting some respect on it, Rangers have done fantastically well to get to the semi-finals of the Europa League. So, I mean, I don't think you could say that the football of quality in Scotland is not good enough to come to the Premier League. Kieran Tierney's done it quite recently from Celtic. So there potentially are some players that could do it. I'd certainly be interested to see if Man United or any other club did look at something like that. But I just want to give a shout out actually as well. The youth team are playing in the Youth Cup next Wednesday night. Obviously United Youth have got Manchester United Football Club in general have got a great history in relation to the Youth Cup. We're in the Youth Cup final again. It's a very good youth team. Charlie McNeil and co. They'll be playing next Wednesday night. We're actually going to do a watch along for it. I mean, we might not get many people watching. We might get a lot of people watching, but I think it's an important event, and we'll definitely be doing a watch along for that next Wednesday night. But currently, over 45,000 people will be attending that game. So it's amazing, isn't it, how many people are going to turn up and support the lads for that as well. So big shout out to that, especially if you're going. I know he's not popular, but what about Ivan Toney as a striker, says Jay? I mean, again, look, I'm going to be absolutely honest. If Man United sign Ivan Toney, I will back the decision and give it the credit, but it's not a player I'd go anywhere near. I've seen him quite a few times this season, and he's a handful. But I don't feel he's a player that's of the quality that you would want at Manchester United to build forward with. I mean, look, he might be a good player for next season, but we've got Ronaldo for next season. I know we haven't got Ronaldo for the next 2 or 3 years, but Ivan Toney's 26. Is he the sort of player that you want to build your team of the future around? Origi's done a reasonable job at Liverpool, and if Toney was going to be a bench player, then maybe he is a good player to bring in. But I would certainly be starting at Darwin Núñez and working down the list before I got to Ivan Toney. How come United's transfer targets always get revealed? Never heard any club revealing transfer targets until they surely going to sign, says Swapnil. I don't know. Welcome to the Members Club, William. And Malaysia, Timber and Kunku, Anthony and Tchouaméni would be my top players to sign. Then bring up some youth players like Lard, Ghana and Mengi, says Gamer Reaper. So you'd get a left-back, a centre-back, 2 attackers and a midfielder. I mean, I wouldn't be unhappy with that, Gamer Reaper. Malakia, Timber and Kunku, Anthony and Tchouaméni. I'd be over the moon with that. I think that would be... I would be over the moon with that. I would. Malakia, Timber and Kunku, Anthony and Tchouaméni would be 5 very, very good additions, and I would be very, very happy with that. But obviously I don't think it will happen. I don't. Mohammed says Pau Torres is needed. I watched Pau Torres last night. I'm sure many of you did, and I think that why do people want Calvert-Lewin? I think he's crap. I don't think he's good enough. I really don't. I'm sorry. I just do not think he's been good enough, and I think he's been found out in a season where Everton have really needed him, and he's just not turned up really. So I wouldn't go anywhere near that. But I wouldn't go near Richarlison either. Van Dijk was at Celtic as well, says Ronan. Absolutely spot on. Araujo is a quality player. He signed a new deal at Celtic, Kudaz, so I don't see that happening. But just going back to that previous comment that came in from the person who said why do our transfer targets always get revealed, and I think that's a fair point. Why do they always get revealed? I mean, is it part of the game from Manchester United to reveal the transfer targets? I don't know. It's part of the build-up process. But yeah, I mean, but then again, with United, we also get a lot of stories where we're not in for players as well. So how many of our players do we get accurately get leaked? But in relation to Pau Torres, I watched Pau Torres play last night, and there was I don't know whether anyone watched the Liverpool-Villarreal game. I did a watch-along on That's Football, so some of you may have watched it that way or watched it independently. We are doing a match tonight as well, Real Madrid against Man City. And I thought Villarreal in the first half, when they played the higher line and were aggressive, played really well. And then in the second half, they played like they did at Anfield with a deeper line, and they played badly. So Pau Torres, for me, played better when Villarreal played a higher line. And that's what we want United to do. I wouldn't dismiss Pau Torres as an option for Manchester United. It's just going to come down to price. You know, Timber's going to probably cost you maybe 30, 40 million. This NDICKA is going to probably cost you, with a year left on his contract, somewhere between 20 and 30 million. Pau Torres might cost you 50 million, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's price against the rest of the squad. Hey Mark, says Elliot, thank you very much. Who's been a member for 19 months. Thanks for becoming a member, Elliot, and supporting the channel. I kind of agree with you regarding United's pulling power. I don't think they can attract the players between 17 and 21 because 9 years of dismal form, says Suradeep. And fingers crossed we win the Youth Cup. Ajax might win their league the same night, says Glenn. Yeah, well, look, it'd be nice when Ajax have won the league. I mean, Ajax are going to win the league, by the way. I don't think there's any shadow of a doubt that Ajax won't win the league. I think that's absolutely going to happen sooner rather than later. But yeah, I think we're all eager now that we've got this Premier League, Europa League position sorted. I think we all sort of are eager, looking towards the transfer window and seeing what happens with it, because I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Manchester United can do. Let's have a look from fingers crossed we win the Youth Cup. That was from Glenn. Neves transfer offer, says Charlie Ellery. We're definitely in the race for Ruben Neves. There's definitely an interest from Manchester United. George Mendes is busy looking at the options for Ruben Neves this summer, who is expected to leave. Barcelona is a key consideration. The thing is, I mean, this is completely hypothetical and hyperbole, actually. If Ruben Neves did go to Barcelona struggle for money, would they then be looking to offload De Jong? And then does De Jong become likely to come to Man United? I mean, I've always dismissed that out of hand. I just don't see how De Jong comes to Manchester United unless he really, really is in love with a Ten Hag project at a club in the Europa League. I don't know why De Jong would want to do that. Barcelona will surely have to generate some funds to buy players. Apparently they're interested in Pogba. So can they afford to go and get Ruben Neves as well, who's not going for free? I do feel that, look, off the top of my head, if I was ranking United's most likely CDMs at the moment, and I'm not going to do percentages, although I could do. Jit, thank you very much for your super chat. I mean, get in the chat and give me some ideas. Who would you say are United's most likely centre midfielders to sign at the moment? I would say number one at the moment. I still think this Calvin Phillips scenario isn't over. I suppose you couldn't ignore Declan Rice, because if Chelsea don't move for him and Man City don't move for him, and he wants a move, United might have a go at it. It would cost a lot of money, but he has always been the number one priority. And I think Ruben Neves would be number 3 for me. So I still think Phillips, Rice, Neves are the 3 options that United are focused on the most. And they're probably the 3 options United have focused on the most for the last 12 months, to be fair. And they probably are legacy targets of the Solskjaer era. The question is, does a Rangnick and a Ten Hag sit down and go, well, there's a couple of better options in Europe I'd like you to go for, to be honest. But I certainly think Ruben Neves is a player that Manchester United will be considering, and I don't think they'll be sitting back. Nathan says, what about Tchouaméni? I don't believe Manchester United are in for Tchouaméni, to be honest. Fabrizio said last summer that we weren't even looking at him. And I don't know that that's actually changed a hell of a lot since. So it'd be interesting to see if anything did happen with that, because I just don't think that we're looking at him. I really don't think that we're looking at Tchouaméni in any great detail. I think he's not somebody. Either United don't think they can get him, or they just haven't scouted him properly. Wijnaldum is not happy at PSG. Do you think we can go for him? Says Jas. I don't think that Manchester United going for an ex-Liverpool player is going to work. I know we were linked to Emre Can before, but I don't think that we will. Bissouma, Lema. Does that say Bissouma, Lema, and Hadira? Well, you're probably not wrong to throw in somebody like a Hadar Adrisk, because he is a player that Manchester United were looking at in the summer. In January. Lema and Hadira are both Leipzig players. I'm always a little bit reluctant when it comes to Leipzig players, because I think it's like Ajax players. Oh, Ten Hag's going to be the manager. Let's get Timber. Let's get Anthony. Let's get Gravenberg. And I'm like, is that just a little bit too easy? That's why I think the Feyenoord left back story from the weekend, or NDICKA from Frankfurt today, those stories interest me more because they're not actually logically linked to a player, the new coach, or Rangnick. And Leipzig the same. It feels like Lema, Hadara, Gvardiol and Kunku and everybody else. Well, they're all Leipzig players, aren't we? And we know that Rangnick's got a connection there. So, look, there's plenty of players that I would love to take from Ajax or from Leipzig. Loads. Absolutely loads. Alvarez from Ajax, says Mr. Carrillo. But I just think it's a bit of laziness just to go, oh yeah, they're the sort of players that we're going to get. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But Lema has contracts end in 2023, says Glenn. Yeah, I think Lema's an interesting one. The players that are available are certainly interesting because they have got no contract left. 1 year left on their contract. I mean, I'm trying to think of players who've got 1 year left on their contract. Lema's one. NDICKA's one that we've just mentioned. There's a couple of others. Akanji is another one with 1 year left on their deal. And I do think that as much as we want to sign these players like Darwin Nunez and Declan Rice and Tchouaméni and they will and Torres, they're all going to be quite expensive. Good signings, but expensive. I wouldn't mind seeing United just get a couple of players with 1 year left on their deal, because it just allows us to, you know, do you want to buy 4 players or do you want to get 6 players in? And if the quality gap's not that difference between them, I wouldn't mind getting 6 players in. Would you take Thomas Lemar, says Joel Morris, from Atletico Madrid? No, I didn't really massively want him before he came to Atletico Madrid, so it wouldn't be for me. I think attackers-wise, I wouldn't be moving too far away from the likes of an Nkunku or an Anthony. I wouldn't mind Rafinha from Leeds. I mean, people have gone quite quiet on that because I think everyone thinks he's going to Barcelona. But again, that's another player that Barcelona are going to have to find the funds for. Yuri Tielemans is interesting even. I've always said with Tielemans that I think he'll go abroad. Where he'll go abroad, I don't know, but I don't think Tielemans will stay in the Premier League, to be honest with you. Sanderberg, says Kyle. Sanderberg's in the Championship, isn't he, with Sheffield United? I'm surprised he didn't move. I am on Twitch after this, Alfie, yeah. Would you take Ward-Prowse, Mark, says Daniel? Personally, no. I'd rather take Ruben Neves than Ward-Prowse. So, and I'm not convinced totally on Neves, to be honest with you, at the moment. In fact, I might do a video on him on the members section, actually. Rafinha will be cheap if Leeds go down. Look, I don't want Burnley to go down, but in some ways, I'd rather Burnley went down than Everton, because if Everton go down, I'm terrified that United are going to go and get Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin. And I'll say it right here, right now. I've seen quite a lot of both of those players, and I do not believe they are Manchester United quality, and I do not believe that they're the right player. I think Richarlison's the better of the two, but I don't like his attitude. I think he's quite a petulant player, and I think he's quite frustrating to watch. On Calvert-Lewin, I think that he's the wrong type of player for United to buy, because again, he just seems to me to be a player that's doing a lot of stuff off the field, not performing on the field in a very important season for Everton. And I just don't think, I think his reputation is bigger than his talent, and we've had too many of those players at United over the last 5 or 6 years. So I wouldn't be going near either of those two players. But I wouldn't put it past United to look at it because it's the sort of player that we could. Sangaré from PSV. I don't know what's happening with Sangaré at PSV. I mean, a lot of you mention him. I'm not. I've heard that Arsenal are looking at him. I don't understand why United have not been linked to him, to be honest with you. It doesn't seem to make a massive amount of difference. But we are looking for that sort of a player. Defensive midfielder, 24 years of age. I mean, why would United not be looking at him? But it seems to me at the moment that it's teams like Arsenal and Spurs that are looking at him. But what I would say about Sangaré at PSV is that this is the player that Erik ten Hag would tell the club to buy if he thought he was good enough. PSV have been in a direct title fight with Ajax this season. They beat them in the Dutch Cup final. Ten Hag's going to know loads about that team, so I wouldn't be too worried about why United aren't linked to him, because Ten Hag will know all about it. Playing for a Champions League club doesn't mean they will get to the latter stages, i.e. Barca finishing third in their group and ending up in the Europa League, says Glenn. Thank you very much. Look, I've got to set up to play Twitch at 3 o'clock. We have also got a United stand show at 7 o'clock tonight because we're doing the Champions League game at 8 o'clock. So we can continue the chat at 7. We've gone through loads there. We've spoken about Milinkovic Savage, Neves, NDICKA, and Nkunku, Oseman, Declan Rice, and everyone else you mentioned in the chat. So I've really enjoyed that. Also, big shout out to the graphics from Drawty. I like the way we're bringing in the tweets and the chats below the screen as well. First time we've ever really done that on this type of show that's not a watch along. So I hope you appreciate that. Make sure you smash a like on the video. And thanks to all the new members. We've got a new members video going up for you tomorrow. In fact, I'm going to get you to vote on what video you want tomorrow, actually. So I'll check out the community tab if you are a member. And thanks everyone for watching. In fact, there's a new thing on. I don't know whether it's on there now. Maybe it'll come on when it finishes. But you can go back on our videos now, and there's a little thanks thing where you can leave a thank you, and you will be the top comment on a video that's finished. Like you can do your super chats on a live chat. You can now go back to old videos, or when this is finished, put a thanks chat in, and you will be top of the comments on a video that's finished. Check it out if it works. Don't know whether it works. I was told about that today. Thanks everyone for watching. We're back at 7 o'clock, and I'm on Twitch in about